And we're off. Thank you, all of you, for listening to that amazing music, Beats by Jay. I'm just kidding. Jay didn't make that beat. You know his stuff will go way harder. Don't
No,
don't play
I,
on the
I mean,
man.
I don't think that it would, honestly, more than anything. I think that you're discrediting whoever actually made that by saying that I would make it. So
Come on, stay humble. I love
you
it.
heard me. You heard me.
Posted up here in my son's nursery. I do have aspirations one day to make this into, say, my own personal office. Throw some Niner stuff on the wall, Giants, I guess Padres, since I am covering them through SB Nation. Um, maybe one day, but it's kind of the unfortunate reality when you have a wife and you pay the bills, but you don't make those decisions. Like, the decisions you make is basically like what Wi-Fi I'm gonna get, what am I gonna get TV, what jeans am sometimes I may not even choose my jeans of the day, depending where we're going. But one day, guys, that's why you gotta hit the like, hit the subscribe, so that we could go ahead and get Leo's personal office going here. And I just want to make it known. I am waiting on her to come home right now from work. Shout out wifey. Um, because baby boy's sleeping. If he does wake up, it's time to eat. And if some of you have babies, you know what they get like when they wake up and it's time to eat. So if she's not here in time, I'm gonna have to cut out my camera, give him his bottle real quick. But Jay's a professional, man. Like everybody's here for Jay. Like
No,
my guy's gonna be the plug, and hopefully she comes home before then. But Jay, how you doing?
Leo,
You ready to go
Leo,
solo?
no, Leo. Let me tell you something. Every single man who is in a committed relationship or who is a family man understands exactly what you're talking about. And it doesn't matter stature of the man or money of the man, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the richest man in the world still has to adhere to what his wife wants, right? And even our coach, Kyle Shanahan, is the genius of all geniuses. I'm sure that when he wants to make a move on furniture or let's
Oh yeah,
say drapes or anything that has to do with decoration, you have to consult with the wife. So
yeah.
don't feel bad. You are I am you. We are all together in this in the same exact way because this is my little corner of my house
You got a
that I'm
corner.
able I have a corner. I have a small corner that I am able to do my 49er stuff, but this was agreed upon with the wife. So don't feel bad, Leo. We all have to go through all these things. And as usual, you are holding it down. And if you have to jump off and take care of little man, I will try at my best to fill in for you and keep it going.
Perfect. So my dad's here in the comment section. Dad, you get this whole conversation, and don't play like you don't. I grew up in the same household. I know what mom says. That's what goes. So but actually, my dad had a comment in here. Should have your bro write a show opening rap song. Just saying. Hey, you was
Hey,
out there. You
I
met Mike. You met Mike in Vegas. I think he had a freestyle with you or something.
Yeah. Hey, look. I'm better. I'm better than the guy that you saw on the internet today, putting out his freestyle for sure. 100
Oh
percent
my
over.
god.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I don't want to give him too much shine, but listen,
The
me
intern.
being a his, yeah, me being a historian of rap, me understanding cadence, writing beats, and things like that, I am 100% certain that I could make a better rap song than that what's been out there. Sorry.
No, yeah, the intern
Just don't
or
let Daniel
NFL
Kelly get a
scout, like,
freestyle.
come on, just don't let Daniel Kelly get a freestyle. Uh, exactly.
Oh.
Like that was terrible. Like he was like talking but rapping, and it just made no sense. I had no idea what
I
was
blame
going on.
myself. I blame myself. I shouldn't be giving attention to things like that. Nobody's here to talk about that though.
Well,
What we're
he
here to
doesn't have a 49ers platform anymore. He doesn't have a
No, he
49ers
doesn't.
platform
He
anymore.
doesn't.
So like you could give the attention now.
It's hard to get fired from a job that you weren't getting paid from, and somehow he found a way to get that done. So whatever. Let's move on and let's talk
Christ,
about
man.
things that actually matter. Hey, Facts are facts. I'm only here to
Hey,
speak facts.
hey. So name this show Julio Jones to sign with the 49ers realistic. That's your guy. The reason why this is we're having this conversation is because PFF basically put it out there saying Shanahan's had an eye on Julio Jones since Shanahan has left Atlanta. Um, Obviously, the 49ers did not trade for Julio Jones last offseason. He went to the Tennessee Titans and probably saved the 49ers some draft capital because now he's out on the market for free this time rather than having to give up some assets. So instantly, when people say Julio Jones, they're gonna think he's, washed. There's a difference. This is why I want you to talk about it because I don't agree with that. There's a difference between your best years are behind you and wash. Like there is a vast difference behind them. Don't mix those things together because they are not equal. It's like trying to put a triangle block
In a
into a
square.
circle, in a
Right.
square, circle, whatever. Like they're different. They don't fit. Not everything has to fit. Um, so for the people that say he's washed, like what would you tell them without going, New York J?
Well, I've already done that earlier today. So today, I'm like in this show, I'm much more calm, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I feel like I've gotten it all out, so I can be completely objective. Look, let me start this by saying that Julio Jones is my favorite football player in the NFL, and he has been for a very long time. And do I want to see my favorite football player play for the 49ers? For sure. But that doesn't change the fact that people are confusing washed with diminished. And I want to point to some things that 49er fans have been excited about other wide receivers who have never reached the heights of a Julio Jones. This is no disrespect to Mohamed Sanu, but Mohamed Sanu was on this roster working out with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was cursing in a press conference talking about how good he looked. I don't care how diminished Julio Jones is, he is still better than Mohamed Sanu. One thing that I think 49er fans don't want to hear, but I think is important to say, is Juwan Jennings was great last year. I don't think there is any realm of possibility that he can grow to be even better than this diminished state of Julio Jones. So let me say this. Julio Jones would be brought in. I mean, he has to be brought in at a veteran's minimum at this point because the 49ers don't have money to spend because there's some guy on the roster. Yep, Julio left. Julio left. Leo left. There's some guy on the roster that is still here that requires your attention. But Julio Jones is still an upgrade to Juwan Jennings and would only be here for 1 year. So if you're concerned with him getting in the way of Juwan Jennings, Danny Gray, that is fine. I hear you, but it would only be for 1 year. This roster, properly constructed right now, is a Super Bowl roster. Now, what do Super Bowl rosters do? They bolster that roster with guys that can help win the Super Bowl in this year. No one is expecting Julio Jones to come in and take over as the alpha that he was in Atlanta, the guy that is one of the greatest receivers in the history of the game. No hyperbole, no sort of, you know, exaggeration. But if he's situationally used in the red zone on third down, how is that a problem? Especially when you consider his health concerns. So now we're talking about bringing in a guy who is, one, familiar with the Shanahan system completely. Two, has made enough money as a wide receiver as you can make. The only player that has made more money than him during his time is DeAndre Hopkins at this point. So he's fine with money. and 3 can offer upgrades in the red zone and on third down for a quarterback who desperately needs as many veteran receivers as possible. Here's my issue. If you want to say I would love for the younger guys to play, I understand that. But please hold yourself short of saying that this man is completely washed, because I have watched Travis Benjamin take wide receiver routes for this team. I have watched Mohamed Sanu take wide receiver routes for this team. So please do not tell me that Julio Jones is not better than either of those gentlemen that I have just mentioned, without saying that he doesn't give you the upside of a guy who understands this offense and understands how to get open and is still one of the better receivers who have ever played this game. And that is really where I'm at with it. If the 49ers don't bring him in, it is not a death blow to their season. It is not a detriment to this front office in no way. But I am looking at it primarily from a standpoint of what can he offer to a team that has already had aspirations of playoff runs, and if you can put him on a pitch count, can completely still offer you something. And for all the people that say, well, Jason, haven't you watched him at Tennessee? No, I was in a cave. I had my fingers in my ears and I had my eyes over. He's my favorite player. I've watched him as much as I can because he's my favorite. He is not done. He is injury prone. And this organization has shown, I'm not injury prone. I don't want to say injury prone, but he has a lot of injuries. Or whatever. I guess that means injury prone. I have seen this organization take chances on far less talented players. That's the best way I can put it, Leo. And I'll let you speak.
To me, we've seen a 35-year-old Randy Moss come into this team on a Super Bowl caliber team.
And he also played well. He did. It wasn't like he was just there, just like taking up space.
Like he didn't either. Like, we're not saying bring in Julio Jones and we expect 1,000 yards from Julio Jones, 8 touchdowns. No, Randy Moss played well for this 49ers team at the age of 35, and he had less than 500 receiving yards. But the fact that that man was on the field, it was an asset. It was an asset. And then when Cap did get the ball to him downfield, in that catchable radius, whew, you remember that Patriots game, Sunday Night Football?
I certainly do. That's the game that I will always point to as that. I think that game, more than anything, makes me more upset about Randy Moss than anything. It's because it's like, dude, if you would have at least tried a little harder in certain years, maybe taking care of yourself a little bit more, maybe we don't have the discussion about you and Owens, but it's still Owens and Moss. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but keep going.
You mean Owens and Rice?
Well, what I mean is Owens and Moss for number 2.
Got you. Okay.
It's Owens at 2 for me. It's Owens at 2 for me.
Yeah.
I'm biased. Again, that's my favorite player at that time. But at the same time, those numbers are the same. And Terrell Owens was blackballed for a large portion at the end and would have had much more production.
Yeah, he was damn near putting up 1,000 yards with the Buffalo Bills at the end there.
Exactly.
Damn near 1,000 yards with the Cincinnati Bengals at the end of his career as well. So LA Faithful in the comments says Julio Jones could make this wide receiver core great. Could make this great. A vet, like, it would make us better. He goes on to say, LA Faithful, that is, if we get Julio Jones, he's going to be our Emmanuel Sanders from 2019.
And that is a great point. Here's the question that I will pose to you, Leo, because KP and Akash, they just did a very great podcast about ranking position groups amongst the NFC West. Okay. So I would ask you this. Okay, before and we haven't prefaced this, and I haven't prepped Leo for this question at all. Where does the 49ers wide receiver group as of now in the NFC West stack up 1 through 4? Where do you think they land?
As a
with the current wide receiver group that they have right now, with the current wide receiver group?
That's tough. I think number one you have to go LA Rams. Because we saw
Cup and
Cooper
Allen
Cup for
Robinson.
three games last season. We saw Cooper Cup. We saw Allen Robinson when he got his deserved target share, what he can do. You also have Van Jefferson in that receiving core, and that's to go with. Do they even bring back Odell Beckham on a 1 year flyer? Because you know he left his time there, won a Super Bowl,
So
L.A.
so let's
market, like.
let's so let's
But I'm
preface
saying I'm
this
saying
as
that they're three current guys. That's
so
a
let's but
solid
let's
three.
let's preface this by this. Let me just take Odell out of the equation because I
Yeah.
believe that he does sign with Green Bay later on and he pulls up with them later on. Let's just put it that way. Um, you Allen Robinson and Cooper Cup. I think they're number one,
Yeah.
right? I think we can say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two is very, very, very interesting at this point.
It's
DeAndre
very.
Hopkins is going to be out for 6 games,
Yep.
but let's just take away the suspension. Let's just take away the suspension completely.
See, you
DeAndre
can't do that. You
Hopkins,
can't if you want to take
I
away
can,
Odell, you
I
can't take away
can.
the suspension.
Okay,
No.
okay, all right. You're right then. Okay, if you want to do it that way, then Odell's not going to be there with the Rams. That's just my opinion. I just don't think he's going to be
I'm
there.
just saying that's the last team he's
DeAndre
been
Hopkins is
on.
on their
So
roster one way or another. He's on their roster one way or another.
for 11 games.
Yeah, and two of those are going to be against the Niners. If the rumors are true, then he'll be there for the Mexico City game, and he'll be there for the last game of the year from what is being thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore. Would you say that is better than Debo, Ayuk, and Jawan Jennings?
See, it's like I wanted to be the complete homer and say, give me the 49ers. Because we have DeAndre Hopkins suspended for 6 games. And I kind of prefer Ayuk as a wide receiver 2 than a Hollywood Brown as a wide receiver 2. But Rondale Moore as a wide receiver 3 over Juwan Jennings, like that covers the gap there to
Now you're
where it
talking.
could take away my preference of a Ayuk over a Hollywood
Now you're
Brown
talking.
because
That's it.
Rondale Moore covers that much gap.
That's it.
Um
That's it.
like
100%.
we seen him the first time the 49ers played the Cardinals in Arizona. He was doing some things, and a lot of it was from behind the line of scrimmage, and he was a little jitterbug on the field, and the kid could pop off. He could pop off. He could turn a -2 air yard play into 30, 40 yards. And
Yeah.
that's tough. Like Juwan Jennings, I don't think he can do that.
So Mark
I hope
Mark
he
has
proves me
a
wrong.
yeah, no, Mark has the comment right here. I agree with Mark at this point. Rams 1, Cardinals 2, Niners 3. You add Julio Jones, and now we have to talk about it in a different way. And I've got the Niners 2. But I think you made the
Yeah.
great point. You made the great point. Rondell Moore as a wide receiver 3 trumps whatever the 49ers have at wide receiver 3. Now, look, here's the difference between what we're talking about. We are talking about literally player to player, right? Not whether that will get them wins. And I think that's where the disconnect is with 49er fans and many people. In this instance, we are literally talking about 1 through 3. And if you're asking me, Hopkins, Hollywood, and Rondell beat Debo, Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings. And that doesn't mean that the Cardinals are going to win more games than the 49ers. That doesn't mean that their offense is better. We are talking simply from a ability standpoint. And I really believe that Hollywood Brown works better as a number two than he does a number 1. Again, you do have DeAndre Hopkins missing 6 games, and that's completely fair. And, the Cardinals could start 1-5, whatever it is, without Hopkins, things like that. That's fine. That's up there. Usually they don't start slow. They start hot, and then they go into the basement.
Mm-hmm.
But We're talking ability standpoint. And I think that's what I was speaking about more than anything. It doesn't mean that the Cardinals are going to win more games. It doesn't mean that they're better than the 49ers. We are talking ability standpoint. If you add Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and Julio Jones to that equation, now you have a real legitimate spot at number one
That's
at this
true.
point.
That
You
is
have
true.
a spot at number one. Forget number two. You have a spot at number one. You have a shot
Hmm.
talking about number one with those three guys.
Hmm.
That's
Like,
it.
yeah, and it's just about keeping the situation real. Like, I like Juwan Jennings, but once again, I like Juwan Jennings. I don't love Juwan Jennings. As far as like efficiency, nobody wanted to talk like for he's a fan favorite within this franchise, but no one wanted to talk about his drops. Um, from the on third downs. Yet Kendrick Bourne had less drops on more targets than Juwan Jennings as a 49er. And every time Kendrick Bourne dropped the ball, Twitter just went on a rampage on Kendrick Bourne. Um, Once again, I like Juwan Jennings. I hope he has a solid wide receiver 3 season. But give me Julio Jones. Like, Juwan Jennings is under contract, or I should say team control, for 2 years after this season. So it's just because this is basically year 2 for him since he was a practice squad player last season. That's why the whole are the 49ers they need to re-sign Juwan Jennings? Like, it's gonna happen. The team has control and he's dirt cheap. They're not gonna just let the man, they're not gonna non-tender him at all. He was an
And
early rights restricted free agent. Like, he was coming back this year. Next year he's a restricted free agent. The year after he's a restricted free agent. So the 49ers have him for 2 years after this season. So you take a 1-year flyer on Julio Jones, you still have Juwan Jennings technically on a rookie deal for 2 years.
and no disrespect to Jawan Jennings, even Julio Jones in his diminished state that he is still better. And
Yes.
again, it just because I rate the three receivers that the Cardinals have over the three receivers currently that the 49ers have, because Danny Gray is going to be used situationally. He is not a
Yes.
plug and play, immediately start guy. Like, he's a guy who's going to be able to take the top off defenses when you need to in long situations and things like that. Juwan Jennings is still the bigger Kendrick Bourne at this point. Just because I rate those three over the 49ers doesn't mean that the Cardinals are going to win more games than the 49ers. Doesn't mean that they are better than the 49ers. We are looking at a position group as a whole and grading them on how their abilities, how they win, all those things. Rondell Moore as a 3 on the Cardinals makes him a 2 on other teams. In certain instances, and we can go through it, makes him a 1. The team that is out of the picture is DK and Lockett in Seattle because they're shopping Lockett at
Yeah.
this point,
Yep.
and DK had a down season because of the quarterback play. Now, if you want to talk about quarterback play, they didn't get better
No.
in any way. So it's bad for both of them at this point.
Yep.
Like, Bo Melton isn't going into getting Russell Wilson.
Once
He's
again,
going in to
I
get Drew Lock.
we talked about this pre-draft. I like Bo Melton. Do I think Bo Melton was going to be a year 1 freaking superstar and rack up
He's a
900
flyer.
receiving yards? No, I've liked him for a 6th round prospect, 7th round prospect. I liked him. I don't love the guy. Um, and it's you make a great point about Danny Gray because Kyle Shanahan, unless they invest in you early, and when I say early, I mean like top 35 pick in the NFL draft, which Debo was, Brandon Ayuk was, Dante Pettis wasn't. Dante Pettis actually had to work his way a little bit. Weeks had to go past until he, got more of a snap share his rookie year, which was a pretty solid rookie year, 500 yards, 5
Yeah.
touchdowns. Um, but it wasn't Dante Pettis was an instant week 1, week 2 starter. Week 3 starter, he wasn't. Um, so with Danny Gray, I think he's probably going to be in that Dante Pettis spectrum. Now, I don't think Danny Gray is going to get 500 receiving yards. Dante Pettis was there just because there was snaps available for him to take.
And how many of those
And
yards were got? How many did he have in a
garbage
5 game
time,
stretch,
or yep,
or a 5 game? Yeah, or in that last 5 game stretch. And yes, garbage time. I mean, that Seattle game that
it
we
was
all got
garbage time.
excited about, they were
Yeah,
down by like 20 something points. Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, that's no disrespect to him because he's an
Oh
NFL
no,
player,
yeah. Put up the stats.
but it's
Fact.
context.
Yep. And it's like with Danny Gray, it's you hope that it's going to be Debo Samuel available. You hope that it's going to be Brandon Ayuk available. You hope Juwan Jennings and Ray McLeod, because I don't think they signed him to be 100% a special teamer. Now, I don't think Ray McLeod's going to get 20% of the offensive snaps come Sundays, but it I just find it hard for Danny Gray to be a year one, you know, producer
And
of this offense.
and again, this is the point about stats and film, right? That I'm gonna side with film here. So here's what I think. Who's to say that Danny Gray
Mm.
isn't the guy that Brandon Ayuk was in week 1 to open things up for Debo? What
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is, while Brandon Ayuk was injured, whatever, in the doghouse, whatever it is that you want to call, he was running clear out routes where he
Yep.
was taking his corner and the safety with him so it can open up Debo for those drift routes. Who's to say that Danny Gray isn't that guy for Trey Lance? Now, the only pushback that I would have against my own argument here in this point is that there's a quarterback who might see him actually open down the field
Yeah.
once and throw it instead
Yeah.
of go right to the but my point is, who's to say that Danny Gray isn't a guy situationally, especially during the time where it's a longer down and distance, that he doesn't open things up for a Brendan Ayuk, a George Kittle, a Debo Samuel, where they can catch the ball, have yards after the catch, and make a move. But for me, Danny Gray right now moves the needle in a way for this offense that we haven't had since, hold on to your hats, 49ers fans, Marquise Goodwin
Whew.
was the last person that really threatened a defense over the top
Hey,
where you had to really look. So if Danny Gray gets other guys open and it turns into big plays, are you going to say, well, Danny Gray didn't get the catch here or he doesn't have a certain amount of stats?
no, you can't.
Impact's different on the game than
Yeah.
it is stats, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, what's the difference of basically, say, an interior defensive lineman pushing the pocket, and then Nick Bosa coming around getting the sack?
Pressures and
Or
sacks. The same thing, right? Yeah.
exactly. So, we have let me get to this comment real quick by Mark Cisneros. He made a great point. I forgot about this guy. Unless SF brings in Julio, they won't surpass Arizona for second. D-Hop, Hollywood, Moore, and AJ Green. I forgot all about AJ Green. They did re-sign him back onto
If
that team.
Julio's washed, and let me ask you a question. If Julio's washed,
Mm-hmm.
what is AJ Green?
Retired.
I mean, the guy, if you guys watched Arizona at any point, forgot to turn his head to the ball at certain
Yep.
points that led to, like,
Lost their undefeated record.
right.
On
Look, I'm not trying to disrespect AJ Green because I still think he has a
that.
lot. He has a little
He had
bit
a
in the tank.
decent season last year. He
He
wasn't bad.
did. He did. He did. He's not that guy, clearly, anymore. But if you watch any of Tennessee, Julio Jones is still not done. If he's bouncing back from an injury, then that's one thing. The one thing that you can't say about Julio is in Atlanta, yes, he was injured a bunch. That makes sense. But he played through it. And he played well through it. Like he wasn't just playing and just like showing up and being a decoy. He played through it. this was the one year that
Yeah.
Julio had injuries that held him back. That's it.
Basically, Jim's comment says it all. Julio makes the roster better, period.
That's it. I'm
Kith
just trying
Carter,
to improve the roster.
yeah. Kith Carter says Julio better than AJ. He absolutely is. We want to talk about injuries. AJ has dealt with a whole lot more injuries in his career than Julio Jones, especially as of recent. Like before he went to Arizona, he didn't play for 2 damn years, and he still put up 850 yards receiving.
He did. And again, no one is asking Julio to be that guy on the 49ers roster. Okay? You can be on a pitch count, whether it's him, Juwan. The wide receiver 3 room would be the wide receiver 3 role would be a revolving door of, okay, Julio's ready to go now, Juwan Jennings ready to go now, Danny Gray's ready to go now. It's about keeping guys healthy, keeping him spry, and when it's clutch time, no disrespect, because Juwan Jennings was in there week 18, and he was the one who caught the touchdown pass from Jimmy in the Rams game. No disrespect, but there's a quarterback whose skills lend himself more to Julio Jones in the explosive nature of Julio, even in his diminished state, that makes Julio Jones more of a fit here. I would also like to add one more thing. Julio Jones has made an exorbitant amount of money in his career. He has been to a Super Bowl, never won, and he has played on many teams that never got close. This is why he's not getting any deals or he's not moving. He is waiting for a team that is going to compete, that will ask for his services. The only other team that I could see asking for his services outside of the 49ers are the Green Bay Packers. If they don't land Odell Beckham. So, Julio Jones, the familiarity with Kyle Shanahan, what he knows he'll be able to get, it just fits. For me, it fits. And not only because I want this to happen because I want my favorite player on the team. I promise you it's not that. It just fits because of the way that he's moving. He only has 1 or 2 more years left in the tank. And that's where I'm at with it.
Bruneel Jacobs in the comments says, and Colts, in my opinion, with Matt Ryan. You know, yeah, that's another team you could throw in the hat. Definitely.
But for me, I feel like they've kind of filled his role. Pittman, Alec Pierce, they drafted. Paris Campbell's still there. And Paris Campbell's like that slot guy for them. I'm very high on Paris Campbell. I hope he balls out. I hope this is his final breakout year. But Pittman's that deep guy. Alec Pierce is that like contested catch guy. So if Julio wants to take a small amount of money and go there and he knows the familiarity of Matt Ryan, that's one thing. But don't discount the Kyle Shanahan thing. His best years were under Kyle Shanahan. They just were.
Yeah, it's I'm all for it. To me, it's a pretty easy decision. You're looking at say you don't have to give Julio a big target share. You don't.
No.
Say if he somehow averages 3 receptions per game. One game it's 4, one game it's 2, one game it's 5, the other game it's 1. Yeah, the other game it's 1. He averages 3 per game. That's 51 receptions on the season. Now, who would you rather have? Ask yourself this. Who would you rather have take those 51 receptions? If you had to book someone in there. Would you rather have Julio Jones at 51 receptions? Or would you rather have Juwan Jennings at 51 receptions?
Or
I'm not saying I'm not saying, and keep in mind, Juwan Jennings won't get 0. He'll get his. But I'm talking about 3 per game on average. Right. Who would you rather have?
Here's my question. 49er fans, I've watched you hype up Trent Taylor.
Don't go there.
I'm sorry, Trent Taylor.
Don't go there.
Look, Juwan Jennings is fine, but remember, it took him a second year to catch on. I watched you hype up Richie James. Guys,
Oh
there's
my god,
only
the Richie James, I
so
couldn't understand. I couldn't get it.
well, there's only so many snaps to go around. So if we're going to spend targets in a certain way, again, remind you, Julio Jones doesn't need the he's not the alpha. Cool, fine.
Yes.
How
Yes.
many
Yes.
how many people how many people would love to have Julio Jones in the room, aka Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, any receiver in there to listen to Julio Jones, to learn from Julio Jones, to learn the intricacies of Kyle Shanahan's offense. All of those things you loved about Emmanuel Sanders. You loved that about Emmanuel Sanders. No disrespect to Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders has never approached the heights of a Julio Jones. Never been Julio Jones. Julio Jones can tell these guys how to use themselves and act like a professional. And for all of those things that you guys talked about with leadership, with yes, Emmanuel Sanders helped Kendrick Bourne and Debo Samuel, and obviously this offense went a little bit higher up when they had him. Even Julio Jones in his diminished state in 2022 is still an asset to this team in more ways than one. And again, this is not coming from a place that's biased, even though it is a little biased. He is my favorite player in the league, and he has been for a very long time. At the same time, all of those things that you lauded Emmanuel Sanders for, all those things that you want this to be, right? Like Debo Samuel's going into year 4, Brandon Ayuk's going into year 3. Why wouldn't you want a guy like this who understands the intricacies of Kyle Shanahan's offense to lead them? And I think that's kind of another reason why you need to bring him back. Yes, of course, he needs to be on a pitch count. Of course. Again, he is going to be the guy that you thought Juwan Jennings was on third down, except he can go up top on many people. The problem is the quarterback that who could go up top or the wide receiver that could go up top was never getting hit by the quarterback. Trey Lance is the quarterback now. Don't you want Trey Lance to take shots on 50-50 balls with one of the greatest receivers who has ever played the game, even in his diminished state? Then Jimmy Garoppolo on with Juwan Jennings. Like it's just there's so many ways that you can spin this, and it just there's so many positives that can come from this that it's hard for me to say no to this. It's not like we're bringing in Antonio Brown, and I think that's like kind of where I feel people are like bringing this to. It's like Antonio Brown's dragging down entire locker rooms, and he wants all. Julio Jones is not that guy. Julio Jones should have been the guy that was Antonio Brown in terms of demanding targets. And even when Julio was balling, he never once complained, never batted an eye to anyone. That is why you bring in a locker room guy like Julio Jones. This isn't Antonio Brown. We're not pulling everything down for him. But Julio Jones is a guy who should have, in my opinion, walked up to people and been like, get me the ball. I don't care. Throw it to me every single time. But he didn't. And he never has been that guy. And that's why you kind of bring him in. That's my opinion.
So, the whole Emmanuel Sanders parallel conversation. When he came over to the 49ers on a per game basis, guess what? Emmanuel Sanders had less receptions per game as 49er than he did that same season with the Broncos.
I'm sorry. I
Emmanuel
don't mean to.
Sanders,
No. Antonio's
no,
right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. It's not all 49er fans. I'm sorry. He's right. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
apologize. Again,
yeah,
our viewers are the smartest viewers on any platform, anything like that. I just want to make sure. Okay, go for it.
and with so basically what I said with Emmanuel Sanders, when he came over from the Broncos, he had more receptions per game with the Broncos that same season than he did with the 49ers. Emmanuel Sanders had more receiving yards per game with the Broncos than he did with the 49ers. And keep in mind, it's law of averages. Emmanuel Sanders had one game where he blew it up, over 150 receiving yards against the Saints. Take that game out. Emmanuel Sanders only averaged 50 yards a game with the 49ers, even with that 150-yard game against the New Orleans Saints. Go figure. Huh. Yet, we all, myself included, wanted him to get re-signed, wanted him back, fell in love with the trade. Yeah, it's a freaking veteran that can still play. May not be in their prime, but he can still play. Similar situation to it was in Emmanuel Sanders. Now, do I think Julio Jones is going to get, or I should say, would get 600, 800, 1,000 receiving yards if he signed with the 49ers? Probably not. It's a run-first offense. They're going to have 3 primary targets over a Julio Jones in that situation anyways, in a Kittle, in a Deebo Samuel, in a Brandon Ayuk. And we talk about health. Well, yeah, he's probably going to be the 4th target on the team. So you'd figure that's going to be less shots on Julio Jones's body. You would figure less shots on someone's bodies and to keep them healthier throughout the season. So that's what I like about the move with Julio Jones. I did want to get to some of the comments here. Appreciate Gammon Brown for the donation here. Hello, 2012 Randy Moss. Is that you?
In certain instances, again, in that Patriots game that we talked about, he can exploit matchups. That was the point of bringing him on. Randy Moss joined the 49ers for what? To chase a Super Bowl. Julio Jones is in a similar state at this point. And I think that if you bring that up, then you have to be excited about the thought of this. Again, on a pitch count, situational, red zone. Get him the ball.
Great comment here by Ecan2 as well. Use him in limited reps during the season. Unleash him in the playoffs.
That's what I mean. Like Julio, look, Julio. If we as outsiders understand that Julio's at the end of his days, Julio knows that on his own, and he understands that.
Yep.
No problem with that, in my opinion, and that's the point. It's not to bring Julio in to completely. I dislike when people tell me, "Well, he'll get in the way of Ayuk." He's not in the way of Ayuk. He's in the way of Jawan Jennings,
yes,
Danny Gray, those guys. He's not in the way of those guys, and he wouldn't be in the way of that because that's not the person that he is. Again, Julio Jones is one of the greatest receivers of all time that never, ever acted like a diva. Never once, ever. Even though he had all the rights to yell, "I need the ball more. Throw me the ball," because he was better than everyone for years down the line. He never once did that. That is not the type of guy Julio Jones is. When you factor in Kyle Shanahan, when you factor in this team is built to make a run, how is Julio Jones not a thought? Especially because you know he doesn't want money. Like I don't understand. Like for the people telling me, "Oh my God, he's washed." Oh, you watched Travis Benjamin, you watched Mohamed Sanu run routes for your team. You don't think Kyle Shanahan wants to take a look at Julio Jones? Come on, man. Think about things logically.
Yeah, this is we could have this Julio Jones topic all freaking day long. John Reed in the comments says, "Bring Jones in so the Packers don't get him" is another
That's
plus.
perfect too.
Cash the God said, "Got to see my guy Aponte twice today with some stunner shades, sunglasses on with a big smile. My guy out here working. My guy out here."
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, but I'll tell you, the woman in the other room, she's like not as excited or whatever to see me as much. So I appreciate you for enjoying me that much because that woman is just like, you need to
Tell
take
her to
out the
hop in the
trash
comment.
in a bit.
Tell her to hop in the comments. She can see you. Hop in the comments.
Tell
Hop
her
in
to
the
send a super
live.
chat.
Send a super chat. I did want to get to another super chat here. We could talk about this Julio Jones situation a whole lot. We could probably even do it more as this goes on. But we have a super chat here from Lorenzo Gonzalez, and we're always going to prioritize the super chat. So if you guys want to go ahead and send a super chat before we end this stream, we'll go ahead and get to your question. Until then, we're going to go ahead and answer Lorenzo here. Lorenzo Gonzalez, is our cornerback room solidified? Who starts week 1, 2, 3?
You start. Julio Jones starts at cornerback 1. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just yelling stuff out or whatever at this point. What, man?
I'm gonna mute you.
You're telling me one of the guys. You're telling me one of the guys who knows route running.
Yankees,
he can't cover?
Yankees best record in baseball. Now you don't know how to act.
Best record in baseball. Stop talking crazy about baseball.
Now you don't know how to act.
We don't know how to act. 21-8, baby. Let's go, man. Keep going.
So Lorenzo Gonzalez, cornerback 1. I think I see with this cornerback group, or I'm gonna say starters. I don't look at it as a cornerback 1. I look at it as a left and right, who plays left side, who plays right side, because to me, Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward are kind of on that same tier. I think Ward, you do give him the edge because
they signed him to that bunch of money.
Yeah, he signed him to that bunch of money, and this is Emmanuel Mosley's last year. If he has a year like last season, I don't know if the 49ers retain him. Because like you said, Deebo Samuel's getting paid, Nick Bosa's getting paid, other contracts get heavier. So those are my 2 outside corners. It's Ward and Emmanuel Mosley, and I'm ecstatic about that. I wouldn't say that's better than last season because we had high aspirations for Jason Verrett. The only positive is the season that Emmanuel Mosley came off of, and now you insert him, and there's like 0 questions about Emmanuel Mosley starting on the outside, because the year prior there was some talk about, oh, do the 49ers re-sign Ahkello Witherspoon because he looked fantastic in the final 4 games, and basically go Verrett and Witherspoon. Like, there was that conversation by some in the offseason. Nobody is talking about benching Emmanuel Mosley this offseason. So that's a positive. Nickel corner spot. I've had this conversation with my guy Javi, your guy Javi Vega as well.
Everyone's got
he's talking about Jason Verrett in that nickel. And while I'm intrigued about Jason Verrett at nickel, I just don't know how much they want to expose his body. Javi did go on to say they have guys, that could fill. It's not like if Jason Verrett got injured playing nickel corner, season's over at that position. Like, they have other guys that they went ahead and drafted someone in this year's draft that played at a high level in college. Once again, that's college, and it was a non-Power 5 conference. So I would assume there's going to take some adjustment periods in the NFL. Dante Johnson wasn't that bad at nickel if he's got to play in a backup role.
Dante Johnson's on his roster. I like spoiler alert for everybody. Yeah, he's on his roster.
Deommodore Lenoir is breaking news. Dante Pettis, Chicago Bears.
Really?
Yeah. Breaking news. You heard it here first.
Way to go, Justin Fields. You finally got your wide receiver 1. Oh, God.
Yeah. So I'm going to say week 1, 2, and 3. I'm giving you a long answer here. I think if you have Jason Verrett on the field, you can't, or healthy, available, I don't think you could bench him. That injury happened so early in last season that I think there's a high chance he could be available week 1. If so, I think those are going to be your 3 corners. I consider nickel corner as a starter. Like, they play 70% of the snaps.
Yeah, I've got it a little bit differently, and maybe I'm being optimistic, overly optimistic, and this is a great problem. This is the deepest room that the Shanahan Lynch era has ever had, ever.
Yep,
100%. And we haven't even seen a snap in training camp, anything like that. Let me push back a little bit. just for the sake of argument, and we got a bunch of super chats in here. Shout out to
Yep.
everybody that's in here,
Yeah.
man. Make sure you like this video on both channels. Subscribe to these channels. Make sure you join the Spicy Squad too, so you can join in on these call-in shows that I've been doing, man. Tired of just having like 2 and 3 people call in each time. Either way, I've got Verrett and Ward on the outside, and I've got Emmanuel Mosley at nickel. And I think you bring up a good point about Jason Verrett not being there, right? Let's say he's injured. That's fine. I think that what you saw with later on the play from guys that were Ambry Thomas and certain guys, this is still the deepest room the 49ers have ever had that they can mirror their pass rush with coverage. So I've got Verrett and Ward on the outside with Mosley on the inside. And I think Mosley is so good on the as far as tackling that he can be the nickel corner. And if he's not, then you make a move and you move him back outside because Mosley was the best cornerback in this room, 100%. Yeah. But that's the three that I've got. The 49ers have put themselves in a spot where they're playing with house money. If Jason Verrett shows up to training camp and they start to look through him and they see that it's not working, you know what? He costs zero against the salary cap. He makes less than $1 million. If that doesn't work out, then you can make a move and you still feel good about Ward and Mosley. And then you have Womack, and then you have guys that you can move into nickel corner and you can make a decision on that. And nickel corner is very, very important in this defense. But I'm going to take the optimistic approach. I think if it's Ward, Verrett, and Mosley, you really have 1, 2, and 3, some of the best corners in the league, regardless. If we're talking about an entire group. So I'm going to take the optimistic route, and I'm going to say it's those 3.
Yep. Yeah, I take the same 3. Jay and I basically just have Verrett and Mosley flipped. One's playing inside, one's playing outside. Gammon Brown, appreciate you once again. When do we factor in how valuable roster spots
they are? Valuable.
Mm-hmm.
If Julio's there, though, if Julio's brought in, he's on the roster. Yes. And here's the message I want to give 49er fans. Your roster is so deep that unfortunately, even if Julio's not brought in, there are going to be good players that are cut. And it happens all the time. All the time. Mm-hmm. It's not something that Julio's going to make happen. Like, regardless, if Julio joins and you lose players, it's not Julio's fault. You know whose fault it is? It's your front office being able to hit on undrafted free agents, guys that have actually played very well. This is why the 49ers are so successful year after year in terms of their roster building. And that's why I love to get on them about missing on draft picks. Hello, Terry McLaurin. Hello, drafting Mitch Wisnowski in the 4th round. But at the same time, you have to give
Joe Williams.
You have to give them a bunch of respect in terms of who they have brought in, undrafted free agents, and how deep. And it's only 53. It's only 53. Look at the undrafted free agents they were able to bring in after the draft. Donovan West is going to make this team. Mm-hmm. Jason Poe is going to be a practice squad guy. This roster is so deep that unfortunately, tough decisions are going to be had. And that's the thing. It's not that they're not good. It's just you can only have a certain amount of people. So
it's a good problem.
Right. It's a good problem in a way that this team has been able to replenish itself through multiple resources, and you have to be able to give the 49ers credit for those things. That's it.
Yeah, it's basically like Javi in Texas, where Javi's like, do I get the 6-bedroom house or do I get the 5-bedroom house?
That's rich people shit, man.
You can't decide because it's a good problem. I'm gonna post a non-super chat here for you really quick. We're not gonna get into it, but I just wanna see your reaction. Keith Carter says New York Mets gonna pass the Yankees.
A Rockies fan, the Giants are out here stomping on your neck, man. Like I bet the Giants every single night that they bet they've been playing the Rockies, and I've won. Jesus, come on, man. What are we doing here?
Jesse Rodriguez says he likes Womack's tape for the nickel position. I do too, but I do take in the adjustment period for draft picks this late, because remember, Kittle didn't even start week 1 for the 49ers, and we obviously know what his career developed into. Although they did trade, was it McDonald, was it, right, to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Vance.
Yeah. They started Selleck, but they traded McDonald. We get Jones with what money? Carson Taylor asks here in the super chat. Appreciate you, Carson, for the super chat. First off and foremost, is JG here in training camp? Speak. Go ahead.
Jason Verrett's here. He costs 0 against the cap. He makes less than $1 million. The 49ers have 2 moves that they can make. They can extend Ward, extend Armstead, and, move this money around. So Julio Jones isn't asking for much. What I want to point out is Brad Barnett in our comments. Go Blue Jays. Hi, buddy. My Yankees just swept you, and they won 2 out of 3 in Toronto. Stop it. 15 out of 17, 22-8. The only baseball team playing 700 baseball. And I will scare everybody by telling you this team is still not peaking. They are still not hitting. You know why they're winning?
Jesus.
Pitching. Oh my God, the Yankees can pitch. They can win with 2 runs and give up 1, and they will win because their pitching is so good. Shout out to you, Brad. Appreciate you for tapping in. But yeah, man, my Yankees cooking out here in these streets.
Look at Yankees' best record in baseball. Now Jay don't know.
Best record in baseball. Stop talking crazy. And for all the Giants fans, wait for it to be 40 games. Bruh, when the Giants were winning, all I had to hear was about, the Yankees ain't better than the Giants. Stop moving the goalposts. Yankees right now, they cooking right now. Let's go.
Karsten, to answer your super chat here, we get Jones with what money? I don't know. But it can be done. It can be done.
Julio's money,
he's not going to go get 20 mil. Like, he's not going to go get 15.
He's not asking. Right.
He's not getting 10.
He's not asking for 20-something million. Like, Julio Jones is sitting in his crib waiting for the phone call when eventually things get ironed out. So, again, there is a world where Jimmy Garoppolo is still on his roster and Julio Jones can still get here. And that is something that the 49ers will have to do because of their wizard, their cap wizard. You guys know his name. I don't like to say his name, but they'll figure it out. So, yeah.
Prague. Yeah, it's if they wanted to sign Julio Jones, they can. Do I think that's a move they'll make today or tomorrow? No, I don't think that's going to be a move they make today or tomorrow, because you don't have to. Like, this guy knows the playbook. You don't need to get him in the building ASAP. And then the second part is JG here by training camp. If he is, so what? He's not starting for this team. Given an unforeseen scenario, I'm not even going to mention an unforeseen scenario, but given that, there's no way he starts for this team this year. I think it's pretty clear. It seems like nothing but the outsiders on the national media that don't focus on this team under a lens. They just it's like if someone, like Jason just said, the New York Yankees are winning because of pitching. I don't watch the Yankees like Jay does. So,
but you would have thought it was hitting.
If someone asked me why the Yankees are winning, I would have said because of Aaron Judge.
No, the Yankees, look.
See, the Yankees won. That's what national media is doing when they go, "Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo could start."
The Yankees won 2 out of 3 against against the Toronto Blue Jays, and they scored 5 runs in 3 games. Is that hitting?
No.
What?
Absolutely.
You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that against better teams. Sorry, Toronto Blue Jays fans. Yeah, it's again, it's the narrative, it's what's going on. Those are the things that, like, you guys need to, like, focus on, like, at this point. But keep going.
Ruben, I appreciate you. Give me Julio or who? Leo? It has to be one or the other. Block East Bay Chris, #block Splash Cousin.
Block them both. Block
just
them both.
just straight up blocks. Yeah, like why sign Julio when you could sign Julio? Like that seems like it'll be it's low investment, high reward type of situation. I could go out there, dad ball, look at right off the right off the line. They don't want to do that. Come on now, come see
No.
me, Womack. Come see
Whoa,
me,
man.
Lenore. Come see
Look,
me,
look.
Ambry.
Here's how you play good defense. Score more points than the opponent. And if you do that on offense, then you don't ask your defense to do more. You can take one from the other. This
Mhm.
is this is stuff that is high level stuff that you should be paying for. That if I was a scout for a team or a former scout for a team, I would be telling them. But if you scored more points than your opponent, you have a really high chance of winning many games. Just in my opinion.
The 49ers were 10-0 when they outscored their opponent last season.
Wow, is that a big
Yep.
stat, Jesse? Jesse
Yep.
Jesse Rodriguez. Can I get a confirmation on that? The 49ers
Also,
were
also
10
2-0 in the playoffs when they outscored their opponent last season.
2-0 in the playoffs when you score more points than your opponents.
Yep.
Incredible stuff here, man. If you're looking for deep diving stuff, this is where you're looking.
Gammon Brown coming in hot with these super chats, man.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
you
you,
as
Gammon.
always. Verrett and Jones are injured vets taking roster spots. There, I said it. Also, hit the like button and visit Jason's Patreon. Love it,
Appreciate
love
you.
it.
And look,
Hey,
those
Gammon
are
must be
valid
a
concerns.
manager. He must be a manager because he hits you with the criticism and then pumps you up at the end. He's a
No,
manager.
but
He's had these conversations before.
but he's not wrong with these things. And again,
Correct. Correct.
if these are the concerns you have, I hear you. I hear you 100%. I completely hear all of those concerns. For me is that the 49ers have taken chances on players less diminished or without the stature of these guys many times. And they have hoped that that's worked out. For me, especially when you consider the money, I think Gavin's right though. I think Gavin's right. If this team wants to break away from this whole take a shot on injured players, they have to do that with a clean break. But they don't show you that. They signed Quan Alexander to a wild amount of money. They signed Jerick McKinnon, QB1, to a wild amount of money while he was injured. Like they have signed players that have been injured. Jason Verrett, they waited 2 years for Jason Verrett to materialize. So I'm not disagreeing with what Gammon has to say. In my opinion, is if you are going to change the way that you have done this, then you need to completely break away from it and show that you're against it. Signing Jason Verrett doesn't imply to me that they're against it at this point. Leo, what do you think?
So this is how I look at it.
The Dodgers don't have a better record than the Yankees right now. The Yankees have less than 10 wins right now. D. Neal. Unfortunately,
Stop.
the Yankees are 22-8. No one has more losses than them. They have the least amount of losses. Will you stop it? The Yankees are the best team in baseball. You've got to sit there and deal with it. Just sit and go in the corner and deal with it for a little while. Just deal with it. It's okay. It's only May 11th. In May 29th, you'll have a different opinion. But right now, you've got to deal with the fact that the Yankees have the best record in baseball, guys. It's okay. It's okay, guys. It's okay. It's okay right now in May 29th.
Yeah, I keep an eye on the NL West for sure, and I know the Dodgers lost today, making them losing
The
two out
Yankees
of three to
lost
the Pittsburgh
three to the
Pirates.
Pittsburgh Pirates. You know
Yeah,
how I know? You know how I know? I bet the Dodgers every single day that they played the Pirates, and I lost 2 of those 3 days. How dare you bring up the Los Angeles Dodgers losing to the Pittsburgh Pirates? Go sit in the corner. Sit in the corner. It's okay. The Yankees have a better record, and the Yankees are the only team in Major League Baseball with a 700 percentage winning. Go. Keep going.
So this is my thing with Verrett. You bring him in, you're obviously going to have a corner not make the roster. Who's going to be that corner? Probably Dante Johnson. Who's going to sign him? Who's going to sign them onto their roster? 49ers are just going to bring him on to the practice squad and vet practice squad him. And if, the unfortunate scenario does happen, well, the guy who would have been on the roster is going to be there anyways. And then Julio Jones. Who's going to be the receiver to not make the roster? Maybe Keyshawn Johnson. Oh, okay. Who's going to go ahead and take away Keyshawn Johnson from the 49ers? He could be once
Keyshawn.
again
So
on the practice squad.
Leo, let me keep it a buck with you. How many of these receivers are going to make this team? What are the locks?
It's Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, I would say.
And that's it. That's 4.
Yeah.
Don't you need more than that?
Yeah, you carry 6 receivers on a team. And so it's like I'm not gonna not sign Julio Jones just because I have Malik Turner under contract right now. Just because I have Keyshawn Johnson under contract.
Or you have exactly. Keep going. You got it?
I don't care about roster.
And Danny Gray. That's 5. Danny Gray.
Okay,
5.
yeah, Danny Gray, 5. Yeah.
5.
Yeah, Danny Gray.
5.
Yep.
5.
So that 6th roster spot. Malik Turner, who would you rather have? Malik Turner, Keyshawn Johnson, or Julio Jones?
Come on.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. Danny Gray runs a 4-3. Let that man be on the wing. On punts. Punt returns as well. He can play special teams. So can Juwan. We've seen him do it. Papa Luna said, Dante Pettis is still in the league. Good luck in Chicago.
Poor Justin Fields, man. Poor Justin Fields.
Jesse says, can Julio play special teams? Sure. He could play free safety against the Dallas Cowboys. He could do that.
Hold up. What you mean? The 49ers have addressed special teams all through their offseason in terms of free agency and the way like the one thing that the 49ers knew that they wanted to improve on was special teams. And I think they've done that in spades.
Gammon, you got me. What team will sign Dante Johnson or Keyshawn Johnson of the 49ers away if they get cut? Seattle Seahawks. They'll do. 49ers are going to cut somebody, and the Seahawks are going to sign that somebody. Happens every year.
As long as that guy doesn't make a video talking about Leo.
And Keith said it, like Ray McLeod, like that's already one wide receiver that's a lock for special teams. How 100%. Many wide receivers do you need on special teams? 2?
Right.
Unless
and that's
one
what
of them,
that's what Malik Turner was brought in for. Like Malik Turner ain't here to run routes. He's here to catch kickoffs and see what's up with punts. Like
Marketing Pro is in the chat.
It doesn't matter. Congratulations on your Super Bowl, bro. Nobody cares. We're good.
Yeah. Hey, so opening night, Rams and Bills, and that's because let's see, NFL thought it was going to look ugly if that stadium was 70% 49er fans. So they didn't want to do that to them.
It's fine, bro. Like, again, Marketing Pro. Look, and we're going to end on this because I definitely have to go have dinner. It's like almost 9 o'clock on my side.
Yes.
You weren't here after week 18. You didn't pull up at all. So stop it. Stop it, dude. It's cool for you to pull up when your team wins, even when you, Marketing Pro, didn't believe that it was possible, no matter how much you talked. When y'all lost in week 18 and Jimmy Garoppolo on the bad thumb dominated y'all, and you got sick because your team, it was supposed to be a hat and t-shirt game, and y'all sat in the room and y'all were crying. Don't be tough now because the 49ers would have dominated the Bengals in that same Super Bowl. Congratulations on your Super Bowl, but keep it keep all the same energy, bro. We all know who you are, yo. You sorry as hell for even trying to come in here and talk crazy after you disappeared. No one saw you on my Rams post game. No one saw you after we beat you in week 18 and Matthew Stafford's wife was crying. Oh, there were so many 49ers fans. You had to go on a sun. And she had to explain to your stupid ass fans what a silent count was. Get lost, bro. Get out of here. You ain't winning shit next year. Nobody cares. And you pulled up and you tried to be tough. You're way too late. No one cares, bro. No one cares. Fuck out of
You know what's funny is like even though the Seahawks don't have Drew Lock, or excuse me, Russell Wilson, and they have Drew Lock now, I'm still gonna have that like bitterness, like stomp them out, like bully these boys, like just complete domination. With the Rams, I don't feel that same rivalry as they try to make it. One, like I live in California, Southern California to be exact. You know how many Rams fans I meet?
Two?
None.
None?
None. I don't meet any Rams fans. I meet more Cowboy fans here in Southern California. I meet more Packer fans, more Patriot fans, more 49er fans by a lot than I ever do with Rams. So it's like when I see a Rams fan like try to take jabs at things, it's just like you guys are a
Nah.
franchise.
Him in particular, you don't get to talk crazy because you were a ghost. You were Casper after week 18 when Jimmy
Yeah,
Garoppolo owned you. Like, so you don't get to pop back up like whenever it is.
that's
And
facts.
that's
Big
that's the
facts.
point. That's it. So,
Yeah, that's big facts. Hey, we're at an hour and 12 minutes in. I think I texted Jay. The only pre notes that we ran for the show is, hey Jay, you did a show earlier today. We're gonna run for 30 to 45 minutes so that everyone has enough time on their drive home or their time that they listen to these shows. Because you did one earlier with Brad, so let's not go too long on this one. We decided to go ahead and double our projections and do an hour and 15 minutes. So I mentioned that moving forward, we'll probably be more so to the 30 to 45 minutes range, but this you guys kept it lit, so we obviously weren't gonna close the laptop and call it a day. Um, make sure that you guys do like, make sure that you guys do subscribe. Um, comment down even once the video is posted, and let us know your favorite topic. Let us know a topic you want to hit specifically next week, and we'll take a look at those comments and see if there's something that you want us to touch on. Once again, we appreciate every single super chat that comes in here. Um, we do this because we love 49ers football. We love talking about it, but a lot of it comes through these interactions having with all of you that makes it so fun, makes us want to, put on our cameras and just do this thing. So subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.
subscribe, like this video, join the Spicy Squad so you can join those calling calls, and make sure that you're subscribed to this man's, there we go, this man all the way, like I'm in his house now, this man's YouTube channel as well as mine. And thank you guys for joining in, and yeah, go Niners.